Yeah. And then also there is another thing here, which really is going to be a good segue to our next topic, is the search query performance. So on one side, you've got a list of all your keywords that are spending money
Mhm.
to drive you business. And then on the other side, you have search query performance that's giving you the keywords that are driving you, that are bringing you business. And then when you compare the two sets, you say, oh, wait a minute, these keywords I'm already indexed and getting business, but I'm not even advertising. Add them on. And
Yeah.
it's very easy. And vice versa. Anything that you are advertising, spending money on, of course, you can see those, but when you correlate with search query performance, now you've got a whole different way to get results, right?
Yeah. Well, I think the search query performance report is one of the most underutilized reports. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that it's confusing. So if it's okay with you, I actually kind of want to just take a second and explain what it is, like define it, because the definition is so important. Uh,
Yes.
yeah. So search query performance is actually quite simple. They're showing you the organic and paid res, like impressions, clicks, add to carts, and purchases on searches. What does that not include? That does not include product pages, from as far as I know. Or if it does, it may or may not, but they've never given a clear definition. It doesn't include other placements on Amazon, and it doesn't include external traffic on Amazon. And Amazon doesn't give you a breakdown of any of those things anywhere else. So you just have to assume that while there is clear search volume, you might not be getting all of that information in the search query performance. So you can't use search query performance to get a clear organic sales to paid sales representation. And the attribution window is different because in the search query performance report, it's a 24-hour attribution window. So impressions within the last 24 hours, clicks in the last 24 hours, add to carts, and then sales. But in the search term report, it's in the last 7 days. So if you get a click on a term and then 6 days later or 7 days later, you make a sale, that gets attributed to that ad campaign. But that same click in the search query performance report would not attribute that as a sale because it did not happen within the same day, the same 24-hour period. And so Amazon put together a great glossary that they made size 4 font in order for people to go onto their search query performance definition section and read. And when I went and looked at it, I thought, come on, guys, like you couldn't even make this text bigger. It's hard to understand the wording, even if you're zoomed in, but zoomed out and with all this messiness, it's a great report that has been made so confusing. And there's so many great pieces of information in there that you can use to really maximize your results. But right now, nobody even knows what it is, so they're just ignoring it.
No. So let's dissect that search query performance,
Mhm.
and so that people understand. And but more important, what you've done just a minute ago is explain what it does not include. So because it's very misleading, especially with this attribution business. So just for the listeners' benefit, attribution means that you have traffic coming in and somebody clicks on something, and let's say that they did I guess attribution, I don't want to complicate things, but let's stick to the attribution definition that, as far as Amazon attribution is. So let's say that you are driving external traffic and you sent out an email campaign, and you added the attribution tags to your email campaign. So for brand registry sellers, this is something that's available in your advertising area, where you can create attribution tags, and that way anybody who responds to your email campaign and comes to the product page and makes a purchase, that will be categorized as whatever the campaign definition you created is. So it's email campaign, for example, or email one, or Mother's Day email, whatever the case may be. So that's where that sale is attributed to. And equally, you can run Facebook ads, Google ads. You can put a button on your website and drive traffic from your website. These are all things you can individually define as attribution tags, and then the sale will be reported accordingly. And as far as the attribution that you were talking about, if you advertised on Amazon, you ran a PPC campaign, and then somebody clicked on it, and then they looked at the product, they didn't buy it.
Mhm.
But they add it to their cart because they like the product. I do that all the time. So, and then 3 days later, I come back and buy it.
Mhm.
So now, the add to cart pay date and purchase date, totally different, 3 days apart. So the ad campaign or ad reports show that as a sale for what date, and search query performance shows that as a sale on what date. I think that's what you were referring to, right?
So in that case, so let's just talk really specific here. Nick goes onto Amazon and looks at a pair of tennis shoes. He searches tennis shoes, and then he clicks the first appearing top of search sponsored product ad. He goes to that page. He looks at the product. He's like, this is exactly what I need. So Nick adds to cart. Then Nick waits 3 days. Then Nick purchases. How does that appear inside of these two different reports? In the sponsored product search term report, that would appear as a click and an order and 1 unit sold. In the search query performance report, that would be 1 impression, 1 click, 1 add to cart, and 0 purchases because of that 3-day wait. Because search query performance report is only a 24-hour attribution window. So if, for example, Nick were to view the impression, click on the ad, then not do anything, come back 3 days later and add to cart and then purchase, that would also not appear under the search query performance report because that add to cart was outside of the 24-hour window. Now, however, there is something to be said. There's an edge case there, which is how would Nick get back to that page? You would basically either have to leave the tab open or search again or add to your list. We don't have any information about list ads, but I assume list ads are not categorized at all. So those are the 3 different ways or 3 different scenarios that could happen. And that's how search query performance works.
Bookmark. You can also bookmark the page.
Oh, that's true. You could also bookmark, yet another way. Yeah. And so if you bookmark and came back more than 24 hours later and then added to cart or purchased, though that would not appear inside a search query performance, but it would if you show up in a campaign report, or sorry, a search term report, if you had clicked on a sponsored product ad to get there.
Yeah. Now, what I'm getting from this conversation is 2 things, Sean. One is, do not ever try to compare reports from advertising to search query performance or business reports, because they'll never agree, right?
Mhm.
They'll never agree. So, because really, if you want to think logic, one could easily say, oh, I take the same time frame, say, they go by week numbers.